Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the post week number 12 college football playoff predictions. Who is in right now? What are the overall chances based on the analytical numbers? We can confidently say at this point there are four teams that will be making the playoff: Indiana, Ohio State, Texas A&M, and Georgia, all with a 99% chance to make it. You do have at this point Indiana, they have another bye week right before the last game of the season, but they're 11-0, very likely going to finish 12-0 in the regular season. So they will lock up a spot in the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State, they're going to beat Rutgers. We know this. They have some issues with the health of their receivers. We'll see. But then they've got the Michigan game. Now, if they lose to Michigan, they're probably going to miss out on the Big Ten championship again. Will that matter? Honestly, it might, because they probably wouldn't get a bye in that scenario. So we'll have to see if they can beat Michigan this year. But they're going to make the playoffs because they're going to beat Rutgers. Even if they lose to Rutgers, they're still going to make the playoffs because they already have 10 wins. Texas A&M, I'm not buying Texas A&M, but they are 10-0 in the SEC. Even though their schedule in the SEC, they've missed Alabama, they've missed Georgia, but they are 10-0. They had the crazy comeback against South Carolina. And then Georgia, possibly the team ascending the most right now. That Gunnar Stockton looks like he's played himself into the Heisman race that's wide open. I would say Fernando Mendoza leads. Julian Sayin a little bit off against UCLA, falling back, and now you've got Gunnar Stockton. Jeremiah Love, I think, should also be up there, but these four teams for sure, you're looking at them all obviously making the playoff, and we'll see in terms of Georgia getting that bye, but because they do not have the head-to-head against Bama, it's going to be hard for them to get that bye. They're looking at probably the 5 seed in a 5v12 matchup. That's if A&M wins out. They still have to face Texas on the road, so we'll have to see with that. You've got Texas Tech. Interesting scenario for the Big 12. You look at them, they're at 10-1. They've got a 91% chance to make it. If they go 11-1, like what's their last game? Because they've got a bye, and then they've got at West Virginia, so that'll very likely be an easy win for them. So they're going to finish 11-1. They go to the Big 12 championship game. Imagine they lose the Big 12 championship game. Are they going to be kept out? I don't think so. They've got great analytical defensive numbers. Their rate stats are amazing. They're blowing everyone out. The question for them is, do they have any crazy big wins? They've got the win at Utah. That's impressive. Utah has been playing great. They're a top 10 analytical team in the sport. They've got the win against BYU. That's BYU's only loss. Other than that, the resume's lacking a little bit, but the wins are just so impressive, and by so much, you start to consider Texas Tech, even if they lose, it's like, will they penalize the loser of the Big 12 championship? If they do, the Big 12 is probably only getting one team in, but I think the best case scenario for the Big 12, I mean, the Big 12 it's an interesting situation because you've got Utah here. Now, Utah's got the 2 conference losses. You can see right now it's looking like it's going to be Texas Tech versus BYU in the Big 12 championship. But this Utah team, even with the loss to Texas Tech, analytically, you could argue, I'm not going to say they're better than Texas Tech, but I could argue Texas Tech and Utah they could both make the playoff. They could. Now, it's going to be hard for Utah because they're probably not going to make, they've got that loss to BYU, so they don't have the head-to-head against BYU. So even if BYU loses again, BYU is going to be in front of them. It's tough for Utah. It really is, because they're like a top 9 team analytically, and they've been blowing everyone out. They look really good, but they've got those 2 win conference losses. But Utah is a team you got to look at. Although, I don't know, they've got around a 38% chance right now. Look at that. The number 7 team analytically, according to ESPN FPI. But yeah, for the Big 12, I mean, the other thing is for the Big 12, what happens to BYU? Now, BYU is sitting at 9-1. You look at BYU at Cincinnati, they win that game, they beat UCF. What happens to them? Let's say they lose to Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. Do they make it? Are they the 11 seed? Do you get 2 teams from the Big 12? I think a lot of people are going to be angry if they make it, but then you're going to get a lot of people angry if they get left out, because do you penalize them for losing their conference championship game? I think you got to leave them out, because I don't think they're good enough. But maybe I'm wrong. But either way, you've got them there. You have Ole Miss. Ole Miss at 10-1. Yeah, they're looking at, like, if you're an Ole Miss fan, you're hoping for the 5th seed, because you're not going to, you look at this. Georgia's got the head-to-head over you. Texas A&M is undefeated. You're not going to make the SEC championship unless, maybe Texas A&M loses to Texas and you get in via tiebreakers or something. But If you're Ole Miss, you're trying to get that 5 seed. It's going to be a challenge, though, with Georgia in front of you. I think Georgia's gunning for that 5 seed in a 5v12 matchup against a group of five. They're going to be like 17-point favorites. You look at some of the numbers at home. Then what does that make Ole Miss, the number 6 seed? Where does Oregon fit into the picture? They're at 9-1 right now with an 87% chance. A lot of people talking about Oregon. Where's their big win? Well, it was supposed to be Penn State, obviously not the case anymore. They did beat Iowa, but Iowa just lost again. They're probably not going to be ranked. They lost to USC. Is their big win against USC where they're around 10-point favorites in this game? This could be their big win. They've got a game at Washington. That's a tough road game. Where will Oregon be if they finish 11-1? Will they be in front of Ole Miss? Probably not. Honestly, probably not. Even though they've got great analytics, they're the number 3 team according to FPI. But where will they be ranked? At 7 or 8? No, they're not going to be 8. If they're 11-1, well, they're not going to be in front of Texas Tech if Texas Tech wins out. They're not going to be, probably not going to be in front of Ole Miss if Ole Miss wins out. They're definitely not going to be in front of any of these 4 teams. So yeah, you're looking at Oregon. If you're an Oregon fan, you're hovering around that 7 line right now. You're in a 7v10 matchup in the first round if you're Oregon. Possibly if you go 11-1. And these games are not easy for Oregon. This is a tough situation. Now, if they finish 10-2, I still think they make it, but they're on the road. They're going to be on the road. Probably in an SEC environment, if I had to guess, for Oregon, if they finish 10-2. You've got Bama, who lost somehow. Alabama had a post-game win expectancy of 96%. Basically a fluky turnover game against Oklahoma. You give credit to Oklahoma for being in position to win. And John Mateer had a couple of really nice QB runs. Okay. They had a defensive touchdown. I still think Bama's a good team. But the problem with Bama is they are seriously flawed. They cannot run the ball at all. And there's a difference between struggling to run the ball. I would classify Ohio State as they struggle a little bit to run the ball, but they can kind of run it. Alabama cannot run the ball at all. Their leading running back has 20 or 30 yards. It's really bad. Their running backs average 3 yards a carry in some of these games. They've got that game at Auburn. They're going to be 7-point favorites. This is what the SEC is this year. This Auburn team with Cam Coleman, the young emerging receiver. That's not going to be necessarily an easy game with the interim head coach there. But listen, imagine Bama goes 9-3. Do they still make the playoff with their resume? That's something to take into account as well. So, look, Bama at the point, they still have an 84% chance to make the playoff because they finished 10-2. Where are they going to be ranked? You've got Oregon maybe at 11-1. I think Bama will probably be the 7 or 8 line, 7-8 line if they finish 10-2. But then you've got Oklahoma. See, this is the issue. You have to kind of do you honor that head-to-head because Oklahoma went on the road, even though the committee will admit that's a fluke game. Bama's better than Oklahoma. But you do have to say it is a head-to-head. Oklahoma did beat them, even though they got outgained by 200 yards. Even though Bama had a 96% chance to win post-game win expectancy. These are the facts. I'm not a Bama fan. I'm just saying. But, maybe you put Oklahoma in front of them. Versus Missouri. Missouri might be ranked. Missouri's now 7-3. Versus LSU. LSU is, you got to beat LSU. What if they finish 9-3? They've got the win at Tennessee. They've got the win at Bama. Do they have any other big wins? They've got the win versus Michigan. They've got the a quality loss to Ole Miss. This is an interesting resume for a 9-3 team. I think they might have a chance to make it. They really might. Oklahoma at 9-3. It becomes like an Oklahoma 9-3 versus Utah 10-2. Although I don't know if Utah would be in the picture, but Utah has amazing overall resume numbers and the analytics are just great. Now you've got North Texas out of the American coming in with a 38% chance. So North Texas just destroyed Appalachian State. Now they've got Rice. That should be an easy win, and they face Temple at home. So what are they looking at? Going 11-1 out of the American. So it looks like they're the favorites. You've got BYU at 9-1. I think BYU loses to Cincinnati if I had to guess. But listen, if they win that game, you're setting yourself up to where, what if they go 11-1 and then they lose to Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship? Do you have to put them in as the 11 seed? And then who are they facing, like Oregon or Ole Miss in the first round on the road? I would be tempted. See, this is the problem. The problem is they beat Utah. I think Utah's better than BYU. Did BYU play that game at home? Yeah, they beat them by 3 at home. But could you justify putting Utah in front of BYU? I don't know if you can do that. You probably can't even justify it, although I think Utah's better. You've got James Madison. Wait, how did I miss James Madison? So James Madison has the highest chance out of all the group of 5 teams. Yeah, they crushed Appalachian State. That's what I meant to say. James Madison. So maybe James Madison makes it out of the Sun Belt. And it'd be good. I think the American is kind of a mess this year. I'd like to see James Madison make it. Georgia Tech sitting at 9-1. I think Georgia Tech finishes. I mean, they might lose to Pitt, although Pitt struggled against Notre Dame. Yeah, I don't think Georgia Tech's going to make the playoff. We got to start knocking some of these teams off of the playoff. Notre Dame, I don't know. It's like I'm not going in order. Notre Dame with a 61% chance. Notre Dame's going to make it. The question for Notre Dame, will they have a home game? They're sitting on like the 7 or 8 line right now, but do they have the quality wins? They got the win against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's now going to be unranked. I mean, Pittsburgh got walloped. They did. That was not an impressive performance by Pittsburgh. You can say it's an impressive performance by Notre Dame, but there's a yin and a yang. So you've got the win over USC, but USC, they're a ranked team. They just beat Iowa. But now USC has to face Oregon on the road. So USC loses to Oregon. I think they're going to stay ranked, but they're going to be knocked down. So where's the quality wins for Notre Dame? And you can say, well, what about Ohio State not having quality wins? Well, Ohio State's undefeated, and they've got the number 1 game control in college football. And they've got like the number 1 expected win per, or what are the number 3 strength of record. So it's a little bit different in terms of like quality wins if you have 2 losses. They do have the 2 losses. I think Notre Dame, they're a really good team, but they might be on the 8 line, or if I had to guess. I mean, they might even be lower. The question is, if Bama finishes 10-2 and Notre Dame finishes 10-2, how would Notre Dame be above Bama? And then the other problem is, if Oklahoma finishes 10-2, they're going to have to put Oklahoma above Bama because of the head-to-head, and then Notre Dame gets bumped down again. And you have all those other teams that don't even get the first round bye. I'm not even talking about the first round bye, like a Georgia, like an Ole Miss, like the Oregons. That's the problem that's going to bump Notre Dame down. See, I don't think Notre Dame can really move up much because they just don't have the resume, and they already have 2 losses and they don't play in a conference championship. But they can move down even with wins because they just don't have the quality wins themselves. I mean, they do have good analytics, but you know what I'm saying in terms of, I think they might have to move because, like, look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're right now, they're 9th in terms of playoff, percentage. Now that's not an actual metric in terms of who's gonna, where they're gonna be seated. But I could see them in an 8-9 matchup against Bama. But that's with Oklahoma below Bama. They would probably have to bump Oklahoma in front of Bama. Then Notre Dame gets bumped down even more. Now, could Oregon lose and they drop below Notre Dame? Yes. Could Ole Miss lose? Probably not. Could Texas Tech lose? Maybe in the Big 12 championship they could lose. Could Georgia lose again to Georgia Tech? It's unlikely. I mean, it's possible, but it's unlikely. They almost lost last year to Georgia Tech. And then these teams are like locked into buys. So, and then Bama, I mean, right now I think Bama still controls their own. Well, no, you've got a kind of a log jam here of teams. Wait, so does Bama? I think Bama still controls their own destiny to make the SEC championship. Obviously, Texas A&M is going to be in as long as they win out. If they lose to Texas, it would be pretty crazy. But I think because Bama definitely has the head-to-head over Georgia, but if it becomes a 3-way tie, we'll have to see. But then Georgia has the head-to-head over Ole Miss, so I don't know. But then you've also got some of the other teams. Virginia, I think they're not going to make it. I mean, what do you want me to say? Texas, they're not going to make it. They have 3 losses. Yes. Oh, if Texas finishes 9-3 and they beat Texas A&M, but why would we even talk about that hypothetical? Texas looks terrible. I'm sorry. I don't even want to talk about the hypothetical. You've got Ole Miss with 2 losses. If they finish 10-2, they listen, this is the weird thing with the Big Ten. And this is stupid to even talk about because it's not going to happen, but people always do this. So what if USC goes 10-2 and Michigan goes 10-2? Obviously, USC has to be in front of Michigan. They have a head-to-head. They beat Michigan pretty easily. But then it's like Michigan has to make the playoffs. So what? The Big Ten gets, what would that be, 5 teams in the playoff? Like, how does, because then Oregon, what? Well, no, because Oregon would lose to USC. Oregon might be out at 10-2 in that scenario. Because I think you have to put Michigan in because they would have the win over Ohio State. I think you have to put USC in because they would have the head-to-head over Michigan. And it was an easy win for them against Michigan. So, but I don't think Michigan is going to beat Ohio State. I think Ohio State will hold serve. They'll beat Michigan this year for the first time in whatever, 5 or 6 years. Michigan will be eliminated. I think USC will be eliminated. They're going to lose to Oregon. And I think it'll all work itself out. You also have Miami. I see a lot of people predicting Miami to make it as an at-large team. You look at them right now, they've got 2 losses. It's going to be a challenge. They're probably not going to make their conference championship. They've got the win over Notre Dame. That's huge for them. South Florida, that kind of counts as a quality win. Other than that, it's kind of lacking. I mean, I think they're going to lose to Pittsburgh. But, Pittsburgh did struggle against Notre Dame, but that's a tough game for Miami, going on the road in a cold environment. So I think Miami might finish 9-3. They'll be out. You've got Vanderbilt sitting with only a 10% chance at 8-2. It's because of this Tennessee game. I think Tennessee's going to beat Vanderbilt, honestly, at home. I do. Because Tennessee will still be playing for something. They'll be playing for a good bowl. They only have 3 losses themselves. They might think they should get in at 9-3. So I think that's going to take care of itself. Vanderbilt loses. So Vanderbilt will be gone. Like, the way I see it, I think Indiana, Ohio State, A&M, Georgia, Texas Tech's not a guarantee, but they're close. Ole Miss, Oregon, those are the teams you can say they're going to be in. Bama, it's like, well, I think they're going to beat Auburn and they should be in. Notre Dame's going to be in. I don't know if they're going to host a game. Obviously, we don't know the group of 5. The group of 5 is whatever. Oklahoma, I mean, if they beat Missouri at home, they're probably also going to beat LSU, so they're probably going to have to be in. And then you start jousting for who's the ACC team. It's just total slop. It's complete slop. I mean, who even is the leader in the ACC? So Georgia Tech, Virginia, is that the matchup? Well, you've got all these one-loss teams. I don't know what the tiebreaker situation is there. I mean, I think Georgia Tech's going to have 2 losses because they're going to lose a non-conference game to Georgia, probably. But then, no, that game's going to be meaningful to Georgia, I think. I was going to say, what if the game is not meaningful to them? Other than that, I mean, to me, it looks like you've got about 8 or 9 teams that are almost locked in. Depending on if Alabama can beat Auburn, I think Notre Dame's locked in. Oregon, it could get scary if they lose to USC. But they face USC at home. They're 10-point favorites. And they were favorites against Indiana. I understand it. But yeah, that's basically it. So the what I'm looking at is you've got this kind of mess in the SEC with Oklahoma now possibly being above Alabama, but Bama still having that Titanic resume with all the ranked wins that they have. You have kind of a mess in the ACC and to a lesser degree in the Big 12. You've got Texas Tech. You've got BYU, and then Utah. What do they do with Utah? I think Utah's probably going to be out, unfortunately, for them, even though they're the number 7 team, analytically. BYU's at number 14, analytically. Texas Tech's at number 8 for the Big 12. For the ACC, it's a complete mess. There's really nothing to even say about the ACC. I think maybe whoever wins the conference makes it. They're going to be a one bid league. That's what I can say about them. So we'll have to see. But either way, guys, that's just the update on this. You look at the resume, strength of record is good, but you have to look at it after the last week of the season, strength of record. So you've got Texas A&M at number 1. You've got Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Ole Miss, BYU at number 6. Now, the problem is with the way strength of record works is there's a lot of volatility to it. So if BYU loses in their conference championship game, they're probably going to be knocked down significantly in terms of strength of record. BYU fans will look at this and be like, see, we should be in. But, strength of record is a good metric, but it's good after the final games have been played. That's the thing you got to understand. You look at something like game control, Georgia. Well, Georgia's had, a tougher schedule. Like, you look at the strength of schedule, A&M's top 20, Indiana's out, 38, Ohio State's 50th. Ohio State, even Texas Tech. Texas Tech's at 52 in terms of strength of schedule. So, some of these Big Ten teams are a little bit lower, and they're able to have higher efficiency numbers. Ohio State, the most efficient team in college football. Indiana, a close second. You've got Texas Tech at number 3. Big 10, Big 10, Big 12, Big 10, independent, Big 12, Big 12. These teams, it's because the conference is not deep. And the entire argument is, well, the SEC doesn't have any ultra elite teams. Maybe. I mean, the thing is, look at Ohio State. And I like Ohio State, trust me. But, look at these games. They were 24-point favorites, 20-point favorites, 28-point favorites, 32-point favorites, 32-point favorites. I mean, this is ridiculous. And this is just the way it worked out for the Big Ten this year. And they missed Oregon in the regular season, and they also missed Indiana in the regular season. You know, they've got the game against Michigan. They're probably going to be 10.5 point favorites if I had to guess against Michigan on the road. I mean, if Smith doesn't play, if Carnell Tate doesn't play, they're probably going to have some issues. Let's be real. And it seems like they're injured now. Their team is they're kind of hitting a little bit of a lull there. I was watching them against UCLA. I wasn't very impressed, honestly. But look, I guess you can say they're the number one team still. Indiana, they struggled a little bit early against Wisconsin. I think Indiana's fine. I still think Ohio State and Indiana are the two best teams. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you like the video down below. Also follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.